Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on your beautiful Sunday. My name is Vikas, and today we are here for the curatorial walkthrough of Paiband. Those who don't know, Paiband is our ongoing virtual exhibition. It's a solo show of Rafique Shah, where we are talking about Rafique Shah's work in terms of the memory and his journey. The exhibition is curated by Shalu Yadav, and we are lucky enough to have Shalu with us today. So, before we begin anything, few things I would like to say. First, please don't consider it as a lecture. It's a conversation. Feel free to interrupt or put your comments down, or maybe like in chat, or just raise your hand, whatever feels right. And if you feel like we are going too fast or too slow, just let us know, and we'll be more than happy to adjust our pace accordingly. Right. This session will be more or less 1 hour, where we'll have some time for curatorial walkthrough, was some time for Q&As. But if you have, as I said, if you have any doubts, please feel free to just interrupt us in between, right? And yeah, and if you haven't seen the exhibition yet, go to our website, visit the exhibition. We have a feedback form which will be circulating it towards the end of the session. And we request everyone to please fill that up, and we'll be adding that in chat and comments as well, right? Okay, so now with everything, I would like to invite Shalu. So, hi, Shalu, how are you? And thank you for joining us today.
Hi Vikas, thank you so much. It's pleasure to have this session where I can share like how this exhibition came up and how we came up with the whole idea of the Paiband. So yeah, it's good to share my views and how we brought this together.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. So I would. So to be honest, I have seen Shalu doing all this, right? So I have seen from the initial ideation to all the way till here. So, but a lot of you guys don't know, right? So I won't spoil anything, right? I'll make sure Shalu speaks, and wherever needed, I can just barge in. And same goes to you. Please just barge in if you feel like there's something which you know better than us, or which you feel like you need more clarity, right? It's an open conversation. Feel free to join. So first of all, let's begin with Shalu introducing herself, and then I'll ask first question, which is if she can tell us a bit about the idea of Paiband, how it first emerged, and what initially drew her towards the body of work of Rafique Shah.
Okay, thank you Vikas. So if I talk about like okay, first begin with the question that like I ask you, what do you see when you look at a painting in the exhibition?
Um, I'll say that's a very good question you asked to begin with. If anyone is not interested in answering, I can say something if you don't mind, Shalu.
Oh, that's
Right?
fine. Go on.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So question says, what do I see first thing when I see the painting? Right? So me, if I'm talking as a viewer, I'll say how the painting is appealing to me. Like, is it something like am I drawn towards the colors, the subject matter, or the theme, or the representation, or things like that. But as a curator, I'll say I like more about the narrative itself. What leads artists to this particular piece? I hope it makes sense.
No, it does. Like, as you mentioned, that our first instinct is to understand the artwork. Like, what is the story behind it? Or what was the intention of the artist who created the artwork? But I guess what you mentioned first, that how the artwork is appealing to you, that is like the foremost impression we have. Like, if we are standing in front of a painting, we look at the colors, then as we keep looking at the artwork, we started noticing some figures into it, if it is an abstract painting or something like that, or we just try to find symbols into it. And some viewers can just directly jump into like the intention, the story behind it. But for me, I would say the impression that particular painting creates on me is very initial thing which I experience when I'm looking at the artwork. So yeah, that's how I move when I'm looking at the painting. Like, first I look at my impression, like what impact it is creating on me, and then I start moving towards the narrative or the story behind it, and then it's more like diving deeper into the story and the artist intentions behind it. So yeah, I'm not saying like any way of looking at the artwork is wrong, but this is my way of looking at the artworks. And that's exactly how I started looking at the our artist work, Rafique Shah. Like, when I first looked at his portfolio and all the paintings, the first thing I noticed was the pop of colors. The paintings are full of colors. And then the second thing which I noticed was there are geometric patterns. Um, you can clearly see where one color is ending and where the another color is beginning. So you won't see a gradient actually, but the blocks which are like layered in themselves. So that was my first impression. And when we had a discussion on Rafiq's practice, a lot of things emerged. When you shared his background, his family background, his upbringing, his artistic practice, a lot more things came in. And then I would say then I started looking at the artworks a bit differently. So when I got to know about the practice of the artist, his life, so yeah, I would say that I started getting more involved into the narrative, the story, and the intentions behind all those artworks. So yeah, that's how it all traveled, like from the first impression to the like reaching where I can just extract the stories behind the artworks. So that was very interesting, like having the discussion with you with the artist.
Yeah, yeah, but you use the word Paiband, which is very metaphorical in nature and has a lot of different meanings depending on just if you look it at just if you look the word in its literal terms or in comparison to the painting. So what make you choose that this should be the title of the exhibition? Nothing, no other word is perfectly fit for it.
Mm, yeah, I would say we would have thought for some different names, which might sound poetic, or we could just have simply pick up a word from his artwork itself. But when we were having discussion, and even you mentioned this word Paiband, I haven't heard it before. So this was very new to me, and knowing the story behind the word itself, I guess it perfectly like uh, explains the practice of the artist. Like, this word Paiband, it means the patchwork. It's a Urdu word. So as we can see, there are patches or like blocks, geometric shapes in all the artworks by the artist. So these geometric interruptions, they seem like patches on a canvas. So I guess that's how this word became like a perfect word for the exhibition, which I guess which we can see in every artwork. And also because the this is a practice done by people in his village. This means like when there were torn clothes, so our artist, his mother and grandmother, they used to stitch patches of cloth over them to like repurpose that cloth and not to be thrown away directly after it has been torn. So yeah, it was more like repurpose, repairing and transforming that cloth into something new which can be used for longer time. So yeah, those patches, they have traveled a long way, like how they were part of the uh artists, like his childhood, and how they are still relevant, not relevant, but how they have traveled into his adulthood. So yeah, it's very apparent and very visible in all his artworks. And it's not just the literal meaning that the patchworks can be seen in the artwork, but it also has the metaphorical meaning, as you mentioned that uh, these patches, like they are chosen because you don't want to discard the original thing, so you just mend it and use it for a longer time. So it's more like transforming it and continuing to use it instead of calling it damaged and just discard it. So yeah, I mean that's how it feels like. It can be also seen as like how this childhood memory of Rafiq's, it has been carried over. Not not that he left it behind when he moved to the city or when he was away from his home. He carried it with himself, and he like continued showing it into his practice. So yeah, I guess this explains it, like how it is relevant literally and also metaphorically in his practice.
That totally makes sense. And in this, I think I would like to add something that because I know Rafiq Shah since 2018 or 19 something. Yeah, 18, I believe, right? And one thing, if you don't know Rafiq Shah, you'll see Rafiq and you'll understand how this whole journey from his childhood to being an adult, being developed like this only, where the using the things rather reusing the things rather than discarding it, not out of necessity but mostly out of love, because sometimes you fall in love with something and you don't want to get rid of it, right? So you just patch it up a bit. And seeing those paintings like Rafik's work, this whole thing reminds me of one of his painting, Memories from a Distant Sky. It's so melodious because the way he put colors on, the way he tried to show his inner world. It's not like, oh, here's the color, here's the hue, here's the saturation. Oh, I'll just play around with it. No, it's it shows the journey of the artist. It shows the love, emotion, conviction Rafik has, and Rafik believe in what he does. So whatever I believe, whatever he does has already been by determined throughout his childhood and his journey of being a fakir, right? Which I'll say, which he still follows. He's admired by so many people, but if you look at him, he's so down to earth, so grounded, so like humble. He won't mind being so grounded. And looking at those painting, it shows that. right? His journey of how his journey evolved from those rag patches to a life where he's living peacefully, right? But throughout that whole journey, nothing disturbed. Whenever there was a disturbance, a patch came in, right, to heal. I Let me know if I speak a lot in this, because sometimes I do, right? Yeah,
No, it's just what you like. You know the artist from long time, so yeah. I mean, nothing wrong in this. I completely agree with you.
I
Sorry, I
think
was
you are
on
on
mute.
mute.
I was on mute. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, and also, oh, I forgot one point when you were saying. I was reminded of something, and now I forgot about it.
It's totally fine. It will come back again. I have. You being a curator, I have an interesting question to ask you. When someone sees Rafique's work, right, at first interaction, it's purely geometric abstraction, right? What details or visual elements should audience pay particular attention to while navigating this exhibition? Because I know you spend a lot of time thinking about it from scratching the idea to all the way till here. So it will be great if people can know that journey you have.
Mhm. Yeah. As I mentioned that when you initially look at the works, you will see the geometric patterns and the pop of the colors, very bright colors. But the details and visual elements, I guess it also depends on the person, like how they see the particular artwork. I mean, if you spend long time with the artworks, you might start getting more intense feelings. Like at first, when you notice the pop of colors, it will see very bright. And Rafik, he picks colors from the nature's palette. So this reminds me of something like a story of Van Gogh, which I have heard that that he eats the yellow color because that's very bright and it kinds of make him happy. So he thinks that if he eats that color, he will become happy from inside. So that's how he used to look at the colors, like they can make you happy. And that's how Rafik look at the colors. Like when he mentioned that he first interacted with the colors and he could have the access to the colors, the first thing that came into his mind was that these colors, they will let him make anything in the world. Like even if he can't have that thing physically, he can create it by his own hands. So the feeling of happiness he got when he got the colors, like, oh, I can create things now. So that I would say that feeling of looking at the bright colors, it will instantly give you that feeling. Your mood will be uplifted. So that will be the first impression. And the geometric things, so it will feel like interruptions to you, like these boxes are ending here, 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 and you will see multitude of the boxes in the artwork. But if you look closely, they will look layered to you. And it's not just being physical layering, but it is more like how our emotions are layered or how our memories are layered. Like if you look in your surroundings, you will see and notice things are layered around you. So yeah, it's that layering is not out of concealment or of hiding something, but it, it is more like you are creating something out of it. So I guess yeah, I mean that's how I think, but there is no rigid way how you should pay attention to the artist work. I guess if you look at the artwork, you will start getting that feeling inside you. And if you look at the titles of the works, then I guess you will have more clarity, uh, like of some story behind the artwork. You will know it. Like when you read the title of the artwork, the one you mentioned, that Memory of a Distant Sky, or Whispers Beneath the Surface, or Fragments of the Memory. So these works, they just induce feelings into you. The instant you read them, you will start getting uh, pictures into your head, I guess. So yeah, that's and apart from that, it's just personal space. Like you can feel whatever you want, like when you look at the artworks.
Fair enough. And yeah, I would just like to add one thing in it, because when I looked at Rafique's work, in first, like you look for a minute, it's just a work. Oh, here's some patches, here's some white space, that's it. But if you start constantly, if you stare at the work, constantly look at it, you feel like you are inside a three-dimensional space created by the artist in the canvas. Because those white squares, which has the all that negative space, right? It opens up the doorway where you just enter in and see those layers going in. Like you try to feel those. Like you can, I'll say you feel like you can touch those colors, right? Rather than just looking at it. And the more you look at it, the more deeper you go. And as you said, it gives you a space to self introspect, right? And the more you look, the more you start thinking, because the work of Rafiq Shah has a sense of peace in it, right? It sounds like I'm just echoing what Shalu just said, but it has that emotion in it. And every time you look at the work, you find something new in it, right? And every doesn't matter what emotion you are having while looking at the work, you'll always end up finding a place for that emotion in that work, because it's so deep, it's so vast, it's so enriching experience when you look at the. Yeah, I'll say my favorite, one of my favorite work of Rafiq Shah is this is the Fragments of the Unseen Lights. It's so it's so joyful. But if you are sad, either you look at the work, you still feel those emotions coming in. So it's interesting to see. Again, those who haven't seen the exhibition yet, I'll request you to go visit our website, see the exhibit. You'll understand what we are trying to say. Otherwise, it's just some some work, random work we are talking about, right? Okay, so Shalu, you use the word space and grid, right? So how do elements like white spaces, grids, right, interpretations, and layered surfaces contribute to the exhibition's larger theme?
I would say that these are the basic elements which you will be seeing in the artworks. The grids, there will be negative spaces, there will be layering in the artwork. So this simply shows that there is, yes, that's my point, not the artist. So there is no single intention behind the work, but you will see multitude of the things. Like you will see the memory, identity, and like you will see the journey of the artist, how he came from village and how he when he was pursuing his fine art. So like you will see everything into it. So these layers suggest that, I mean, nothing exists in isolation or solely as a single thing, but everything is layered. And these surfaces, it carries the traces of the life of the artist himself. So it looks like multi-layered. It talks about the experiences. And these interruptions remind us that your life in general is layered. I mean, there is nothing constant into it. So you will be having highs and lows, and there will be different memories. So they will just get layered up into your mind. And and the negative spaces, those white spaces which you mentioned, that these are like doors, and you can just go inside them and see more of the graphics world, or you can create your own interpretation. It all totally depends on you, because as artist himself says that when the artwork is out in the world, it is open for interpretation, and how you communicate with the artwork, it solely depends on the individual. So like how you are going to communicate with the artwork, it totally depends on you. How you are going to see those grid, you are going to see those uh, geometric shapes, those layers. It completely depends on how you perceive them. Or like I say, even our own memories, even our own experiences will shape how we are looking at those artworks. And these layers also show that if some like it beautifies it, like when things are layered. And it's not just a pattern, but we can see a lot of art forms which are being performed worldwide and into our own country, South Asia. So yeah, you will like, if I say that I didn't knew Paiband, but when I saw the artworks, the one kind of art form that instantly came into mind was Kantha fabrics, where you will see the stitches, where you will see the patches of the other clothes there, and it is very beautiful. So yeah, I mean, once you saw it, you will see certain kind of art, and you will see a correlation. You might get a memory, a flashback from your childhood, that, oh, I've seen this somewhere. It is resonating with someone which you have experienced or which you have seen into your own life. So yeah, I mean, there are multitude ways of seeing it, and like every way is beautiful. So yeah, that's what I think it shows.
I'll say beautifully said. And I really liked when you said nothing exists solely, right? Our presence or the work's presence is a response to something which is already there, right? And I think that's what make patch and pattern, I'll say, the most interesting part in a fabric, right? Even the shirts we wear, right? It has a pocket which is attached, right? It's kind of a patch, but it serves a different purpose altogether, right? Not all patches are flat, but their their existence makes it valuable or makes it acknowledged, right? And and I'll say the tribal art form which you talked about, it's I have seen a lot of it, but I believe our audience don't know tons about it. It would be great if you could explain a bit about that particular art form.
Okay, so Kantha fabrics, it came from Gujarat, I guess, where people create those. They use it in blankets or uh, kind of bed sheets they create to lay over where they sleep or where they can sit. So it's not in Gujarat, but if I speak about my own hometown, we also create these. Like what we do is when we have some very old clothes and we are just about to discard them, like they are not no longer fit for wearing, but they can be used for something better. So what we do, we just cut them and we just layer them, like layering, and create a even surface out of them. And we stitch a bigger pocket like structure. Then we stuff all that fabric scraps into it and we stitch it with a thread in like this spiral form. And then that particular fabric, it becomes thick like this, and it can be used to lay over the charpais which we use in our hometown, or on our beds, or if we are sitting outside we can just um spread it over the surface and we can just sit there. So I guess every person has seen this, not the kantha work, or there is also one art from Bihar that's called Sujni. Is the all intention behind these art forms is like use whatever you have, and when it is not fit to wear for long, you can just use it for something else and it won't be discarded. So you just embrace it and you try to use it, make out of it, to use it for longer time. So we even have that thing for generations. Even my grandmother used it, and I'm also using it now. So I would say it has traveled generations, and it is not thrown away. Like even my mother, when the upper cloth of it gets a bit spoiled, or if it has a bit of spot, she washed it and she layered it with another cloth. So it is being used over and over again, and we are just trying to revive it. Like it has already been a patchwork, it has been already stitched, but we are still trying to use it, revive it, and we put a layer of another cloth over it to use it for a longer time. So yeah, I mean, we will see these art forms everywhere around us.
I'll say that's the beauty of circular economy, which I'll say in general, South Asia, we believed a lot, right? Because things are, once they reach towards the end of their life, it can be used for something else, which gives purpose, again, a purpose to the object itself. Because it's not just about, I'll say, like cloth. A lot of other things we use it in different ways, right? This uh, this uh, this this particular thing wants me to ask you one very interesting question, which I believe will also excite our audience, because the exhibition argues against the seamlessness and perfection, right? This is something we just talked about, because it's not perfect, it's usable, it's practical, right? So could you please speak more about this curatorial position in terms of how you envisioned it?
Okay, so seamlessness and perfection. I mean, if we talk about it now, it seems very modern idea, but it has been existed for centuries. The examples you gave and the examples I gave, they have been existing from centuries, and not just our generation, but the generation which our previous generation, they have been using it. So they have been embracing that non perfection. And as you mentioned, that it is kind of reviving and living with the thing for longer time. Like, I mean, if you can use something, if you can just beautify something and repurposing, the word you mentioned, that if you can do that, then why you would discard it? And if we look closely, there is nothing perfect in this whole world. And we can see that these kind of art from uh, Rajasthan or Gujarat is getting attention worldwide. I won't say the same attention is going towards the other art forms which I mentioned, Sujni or Kanta, but the art forms from Gujarat and Rajasthan, they are getting a lot of attention. So people are using it in modernized way. They are creating aesthetic out of it, but they don't know we have it everywhere in this country. This thing has been spread completely from north to south, east to west. So it's all there. It's just that it hasn't get that recognition, and people are just learning to get like embrace this imperfection or this seamlessness. So yeah, I mean, this exhibition, it shows that there is nothing perfect. And even the artworks, they have seams, they have these boundaries, rigid forms, you will see. And it's not an even surface. You will not see the gradient, the colors are mixing and they are just merging into each other. You will see there are patches, there are rigid lines. It looks very strict, but it shows us like a mirror that this is what the reality is. And that's how things exist in the world. If you agree or not, that's up to you, but that's how it is. So yeah, I mean, it somehow speaks against perfection. And I guess I would agree to this, and I would agree to the artist. If I talk about my life itself, when I shifted to the city, I would say I have not absorbed everything. What I'm from inside is like how I was grown up. And all my experiences or all the things which I am speaking is from my childhood experiences or the upbringing which I had or the childhood memories, because I have lived with my grandparents, and it was not some luxury, but we have been living like this. And I feel so proud of it now. I wasn't proud a time back, like 3 4 years back, but when I look back, I have learned so much from them. And all those memories, it has shaped me. All those imperfections, they have shaped me. And these layerings are part of ourselves. So yeah, I mean, whatever you have faced or whatever life experiences you have, it is part of you. So yeah, it's better to embrace it. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
I'll say wisely said, and I totally believe in what you said because living with the grandparents, right, you learn a lot more than the textbooks because how will I say, like, I also grew up living with my grandparents, right? And I heard one thing, and everyone says, and I believe it now, grandparents are the roof of the house because they have lived with experience, not with the books, right? So their stories, like I remember when we were a child, they used to tell us stories, and those were simple stories with complex thought processes, right? Which will make you think your own decision thousands of times, right? And still we follow those ideas because we shaped that way. They are deeply embedded, right? Although we grew up, we like start adding more layers on it, but it's still there. But in terms of like, I really like that. I liked when you said we grew up with all this, right? And I'll say it's not just us, right? Not just in India, but in a global, in South Asian context, I'll say, right? But like circular economy is the part of how we grew up, right? And we how do I say? I again, it's just me, right? Like people appreciate what they got, right? And people appreciate what they haven't got, right? There was a idea of abundance and idea of feeling fulfilled, right? And I'll say this thing like echoes perfectly with the Rafique's life of living like a fakir, right? Where things are there. If you get it, that's great. If you didn't get it, that's also great, right? Because you are self-sufficient and you are sufficient, you are enough for yourself, right? The idea of having excess of everything leads to nothing, but idea of having something leads to a lot of things, right? And I'll say this is the core philosophy where Rafik work still evolves, right? Where he has everything in the world, as you mentioned, like having those colors in his hand, he can create. He has the godly powers now, right? He can just create anything, whatever he wants, right? So that idea that he is self-sufficient and he knows what he wants, right, comes through those layered expressions. So as we are sorry, as we are living toward reaching towards the end of the time, right, and I have a lot more questions to ask, but since we have that limited amount of time with us, I want to ask Shalu final questions I have. That if someone comes to the exhibit and could leave with just one idea or a feeling after experiencing Paiband, what do you hope it would be?
Um, I think how you look at um the process of repairing itself, like it's not something about hiding damage or hiding the imperfections or the imperfect parts of yourself or your life, but somehow how you are embracing it and how you are continuing living with it. It's more like how you emerge from it and transform yourself and believe that not just you, but everyone around you is imperfect and they also have these layered lives. I mean, there are layered experiences and it is not something flat, but there are multitude layers to it. So to embrace it and instead of hiding the damage and getting ashamed over it. So yeah, I think once you go through the exhibition, you read the things and you look at the artworks, this thing will change. And this exhibition, it's not about perfection or restoration, but more about continuation of how your life is shaped with your experiences, your identity, and your memory as you live through it. These things continue existing with yourself, and they will also continue existing even after yourself. So yeah, I mean, yeah, just try to look positive into it. That's the thing I want to say.
Fair enough, and I'll say that's a very good goal. Yeah, yeah. So thank you. Thanks a lot, Shalu, for your insight and having this amazing conversation. And those of you who haven't watched Paiband, please make sure to visit our website, artlune.com, and see the Paiband because the exhibition is live till 12th of July. And in upcoming weeks, we'll be having a conversation with the artist. So I believe when you'll hear that conversation with the artist, you'll start relating to these things more. And if you have any more doubts or queries or questions, please just join us, and artists will be more than happy to answer you guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.